Well, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. We're here at my actual kitchen table. They are working on my basement again for the third time. Anyway, not to get into that, today's video, we're going to have an interview with a few amazing people. George from Compete Sports, Jordan from the Scheming Skeleton YouTube channel, and probably most importantly, Assad, for the creator of Genesis Battle of Champions. We have an amazing bundle going out to patrons today. It's actually available for the public too, but patrons get a discount, and it's a great opportunity to get into this new card game. We wanted to give you an interview with the creator of the game to let him pitch it to you and let him share the vision for the game. We think it's a really cool opportunity to get involved, and it just had a new set come out that's actually a culmination of all the sets that have been released. So I'm not going to hype it up anymore. I'll let George hype up the bundle, and then if you want to check it out, the bundle is in the link in the description. It goes live at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. Hope you enjoyed the video. I think it was a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to dive in to Genesis Battle of Champions.
Cut this out. This has to be first.
So we'll cut this out with first.
Yeah, we got to pump first. So listen, our amazing bundle. Our amazing, incredible bundle. The best bundle ever created for Genesis, I would argue.
All right, everyone. Well, hey, welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. George is already laughing at me. It's unbelievable all the time.
You're so much less professional, you and I.
I'm joined with Jordan from Jordan. What's your new channel?
The Scheming Skeleton.
The Scheming Skeleton. I like it. X Flesh and Bones. X Flesh and Bones. The Scheming Skeleton. And then Assad from the creator of Genesis Battle of Champions, a TCG that's been out for a while. Assad, what did you release?
So Alpha first went on sale in 2017. Wow. It's been a little while now.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. Cool. And then obviously, if you don't know George from Compete Sports, he's here too. I know, the comment section will love that. So we're going to talk a little bit about Genesis Battle of Champions. We have George and I are partnering together on a awesome bundle for patrons and for Wall Street and for people, and it's going to be super cool. I've learned a lot about the game over the last couple weeks. DM Armada has a fantastic video, a learn how to play video of Flesh and Blood. I'll link it up above. You can go watch if you're really interested in learning how to play. And then we just want to know. I just want to get to know Assad and get to know a little bit about the way that the game plays and a little bit about the history of it. So Assad, why don't you start off and tell us, give us your story in getting into trading card games. How did you get here? How do you go from wherever you were to being a card game designer?
It's funny because you say life before trading card games. I didn't have a life before trading card games. So in my mind, I've been playing card games my entire life. My dad got me into Magic at a really young age. I was playing in Ice Age. And for the life of me, I feel like I've been playing card games longer than I knew how to do math. So I started in Ice Age, but then very shortly after, my oldest brother wanted to get into a card game called Overpower.
Okay.
So we started playing Overpower, and then I went from Magic to Overpower to Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, back to Magic, and I just jumped around to a bunch of TCGs. But then when I was in high school, me and all my friends were sitting around. We wanted to play Magic, but none of us have money because we're high school kids. Sure. So I was like, why don't I just make my own TCG? Why don't we just try doing that? So in high school, it was a group activity. We all got together. There's 15 of us, and we'd meet up somewhere, design a bunch of cards under I had a umbrella idea, and then everyone would design a bunch of cards, and then we would play, and it would be horrible. It was the worst game you've ever played in your life, but we loved it, and that's the important part, right?
Yeah. And you didn't have to spend any money on it.
Exactly. Except for the person who supplied all the paper. I mean, paper is expensive. So we did that. And then we got some money. So we went back to Magic. And then we'd run out of money. So we'd go back to designing our own game. And this went back and forth for years. And then when I got to university, I realized I was studying computer science, English, and linguistics. And some of the topics I don't do well with homework. I don't do well with homework that someone gives me, but if I assign it to myself, I do really well with it. So I started taking all these concepts from different classes and putting it into my TCG design to practice those skills.
Instead of doing your actual homework.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You and
like
I would have gotten along in college.
So eventually I got to a point where the game idea was interesting. There were some unique mechanics. And then me and my buddy played a game called Huntic, I think it was. And it had a board where you started off at level 1 and you're trying to get to your opponent's side and they're trying to get to your side. Cool. And then we played another game called Anachronism, which actually used a grid board. And then we're like, this is a really cool concept. Let's explore this more. And we took the ideas we liked from those games and really iterated down onto trying to create a mechanic that was a little bit more unique and a little bit more tailored towards the TCG space. And then we came up with Genesis. It was originally called Origins. And then I figured out there's a convention called Origins, and it was a mess.
The biggest, the second biggest board game convention in America.
Yeah, but I didn't know that at the time. Don't hold it against me.
That's great.
So we designed Origins, and we played it for years. And it was the game that me and my friends would play when we were hanging out. So what happened was when we went to college, we all went in different directions. So every Friday night we'd come together to hang out. So we'd have the quality time together. And for my last 3 years of college, this is what we did every Friday from midnight till 6 a.m. We just played Origins all the time.
That's awesome.
And then when I left college, went to the corporate world and started working all the time, I wanted to learn other departments. So the best way I've learned was taking concepts and applying it to the TCG space. So I wanted to learn project management. I started applying those concepts to Origins. I wanted to learn about sales. So I started applying that to Origins. And then eventually it got to a point where I'm like, I want to learn what it's like to be a CEO. And there's only one way to do that. And it's a full-time job. Yep. So it was always this growth and learning experience of applying my life and back into the game space, and also just wanting to spend time with my friends, wanting to play a game. So
that's awesome. I love how it's connected to all these different areas of your life where you've grown with you've grown with the game, and the game has grown with you. And I think that's a beautiful story, right? Where you're able to learn and grow and navigate through these different life strategies. So tell me.
So before we move on, there is a dark part to that story, a part that was on the side end. So back in 2016, I lost my mom from cancer. And she always thought I would be really good at business. So shortly after she passed away, I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. And when I started doing this, it was like, you know what? I did this in my mom's memory. So anyone who buys an alpha starter kit, and the inside of the lid, there's a little dedication to my mom.
That's super cool.
I love that.
Yeah, that's super cool.
I didn't know that.
That's cool. That's cool, man. Big question based on your history and starting this out in high school. So you're in high school and you're cutting out cards and handwriting them? Or do you have a printer?
Playing cards, like regular 52 playing cards, and Sharpie, and wrote on those.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
I still have some of those.
I was going to say, do those still exist? Because that would be so cool. I remember in high school, or I guess it was more like middle school, elementary school, I guess. But we used to make action figures. We couldn't afford action figures. So we would color them and then cut them out during recess and play on the vents and stuff. It just reminded me of that.
I think we all have experiences like that. I was telling Assad when we did our interview that my little brother, when we were playing Magic, my mom and dad were like, no, that's too violent for him. Some of the Magic cards, they didn't want him playing it. So we literally, he still has a card. I got to get it from him. He told me he posted up on his board the other day by his computer, and it was a Rampaging Bailoff card or something from Magic. And I cut out a teddy bear holding a basketball from some catalog, and I glued it to the Bailoff, and then I typed up text at school and glued it to the front of the card, and it was teddy bear does 3 damage with the basketball.
Look, Mom, it's fine now.
Crazy stuff
good
that.
now. You're all good. You're okay.
Oh, that's awesome. So Assad, I'm curious, what is it about Genesis that you created uniquely? What is something that you were I'm going to design this game and this is going to be my kind of niche, whatever, idea for this game? What is it that makes it different from the other games?
I think the biggest factor is the board, the tactical element of the game, but also how it's 100% relevant for gameplay. A lot of other games have used the board to navigate around, but after a while, you could take the board out of the equation. It just doesn't matter anymore. But for Genesis, that 5x6 grid, since almost every card in the game is bounded by a distance and a direction, you can't omit that piece. It is essential. And it gives a little bit more life to the cards that you don't get in any other space. That's why we had to rebrand Genesis to call it a tactical collectible card game. It's not just collectible card game, right? We had to add that tactical element in because it's so essential.
It reminds me of...
It's very funny. We had to do... When we dropped it off at my store, I dropped, this is before the prices went to $1 trillion. It was literally on the way to me leaving the store, the boxes were $80, which is what I paid for them. By the time I got home, they were $600. I dropped off more than I expected to. I blame you, Assad. And that was, I got a call from one of the customers saying, hey, there's no map. There's no way to play the game. And I was like, I had to explain to them what we did with Welcome to Wraith Alpha, which is congratulations, you get to hand draw your own map then. And that's what they did. That's awesome. I said, y'all better start, some arts and crafts section of my store. And y'all can figure this out. I believe in you. And that's what they did. The mat is very necessary. But listen, it's not that hard either, right? You can make your own if you don't have one. I know. We'll get one in our bundle.
Yeah, we have one in our bundle, so you don't even have to do that.
Yeah, half of our mats.
I've done it for you.
The cheapest game mats are always the $1 Bristol boards at the dollar store, or you get 2 for $1. Just hand draw them. That's what I did for the first 10 years of playing the game. Those were the ones we play tested with. The neoprene mats are nice. The artwork is nice. You can't. But that's premium stuff that you're paying for. If people sat and play, talk to me and they're like, I can't play your game because I can't get a mat, I would go buy a Bristol board, hand draw it for them, and give it to them. I'm like, there you go. Here you go.
It works. I think what you're saying is right. The board is a necessary component. It's an integral part of the game, but it's not that hard to remanufacture, frankly. Right.
The easiest thing to do, honestly, is you go to Menards or Lowe's or whatever's near you, Home Depot, buy a $20 card table and mark it off with painter's tape. I have it my card table, and I just marked it off with painter's tape before I had a board. You can find any excuse not to play a game like people did with Flesh and Blood when it first came out too,
My wife was trying to teach her students. She was teaching, I think, grade 7, grade 8, and they had some downtime. So she brought Genesis in and taught them how to play. And she forgot to bring a board. So she actually just took spare cards and created rows and columns. Nice. It's there you go. There's your board.
One giant board,
So I love the board because it brings it into a space that's a little bit like a video game too, where because the hero has a face that it's facing, right? There's an icon that says it's facing this way, and then it's got 1, 2, or 3 or 4, I don't know, 4 sides where it can move and things like that. And for me, that's what really caught my eye on the game. Honestly, it was I love trading card games, but one of the inherent flaws of a trading card game is that there's not the movement and the speed. And I know I've talked to a couple people who have been talking about Flesh and Blood PvE, and one of the concerns is how do we add movement to that? And it's really difficult. I think what caught my eye is it's a different thing than Flesh and Blood. It's a different thing than Magic the Gathering. It's a little bit like a mixture, instead of being a mixture of Pokemon and Magic or something like that. It's a mixture of a trading card game and Warhammer, right? Yeah. And I loved Warhammer, but I hated painting miniatures.
So it's very funny.
I hated painting miniatures.
Oh, I have a story about that.
Because the problem with painting miniatures, I'm going to just complain for a little bit. The problem with painting miniatures is you paint the miniatures and then you spend all this time doing it and it looks great. And then you can't sell it because nobody wants to buy painted miniatures. People only want to buy, non-painted ones. So it's all of your investment of time is worthless and
So the 2 groups, at least in my store, Assad, that ate up your game were Flesh and Blood players and Warhammer players. And like,
Yeah, for sure.
and like Warhammer players have had a really rough year. Like Games Workshop has had some rulings that people have not enjoyed very much. I know, very rare. They have not been doing that for 25 years. It's a first for them to have a controversial position that's against independent designers. But it's also just like, when I first started with Games Workshop, I would make an order on Monday, I'd get it on Thursday. You could set your clock to it. Now you make an order and like maybe it comes in a couple of months, maybe it doesn't, maybe it gets lost, maybe it's oversold, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
We don't know. And it's just like, caring, frankly, I've told them this. I'm considering getting rid of Games Workshop because it's just like it's too much of a hassle now. And I think your game might have helped solidify that decision, frankly, because those players ate it up. And they're like, listen, this is great because I can come in and get a game in. I don't have to, read through an encyclopedia to figure out what army is allowed and what army is not allowed. That is a very big market for you,
George.
Oh, yeah.
So, and what you said, Louis, too, when I explained to people what Genesis was like, this sold them almost instantly. I would say, have you ever played Fire Emblem? If they said no, I'd say, have you ever played Final Fantasy Tactics? Most of the time it was yes, or vice versa. You play Tactics? No. You play Fire Emblem? Yeah. If you like those games, you'll like Genesis. And specifically the LGS near me, Gamers Haven, which is about 45 minutes away, they started carrying Flesh and Blood because they had a lot of miniature players that wanted to come out and get a game in, but they didn't have time in between rounds to play another game. So they would just sit there and wait because you couldn't play a Warhammer game in between Warhammer games. Right. And they wanted something to do in between rounds. And when Flesh and Blood was pitched to them, their response was, no one here is going to want to play a TCG, like at all. That is not something we're interested in. We're a board game shop. What brought them in was having like a centralized hero that they could follow along with and play the game. So I don't know if Gamers Haven, I know there's a few people there that are interested and a few that play Genesis, but I really want to try to push that game there more because I think that once the people that are into like the little tabletop miniature games get a hold of this, like Sid said, it's 15 to 30 minute games in between that you could sit here and play a Genesis game in between your miniature game.
I love that time frame. Like I absolutely love that amount of time because like it's quick enough that you can play 2 or 3 games in a if you want to play longer, right? If you want to play an hour and a half with a friend, you can play 2 or 3 games and it's it's fast and easy. But like it's also quick enough that you can just set it up. Now, so let me ask, how easy is it to like set and play? You don't have like you set the board out and you have your deck and then you just start.
So it depends on you, but I like if you have the mobile app and a couple of coins. Those are some other accessories you need. But yeah, it's usually pretty quick to set up. It should be just like a normal TCG. You have your dice, you have your counters, and then you just have the mat and you just shuffle and you start playing.
Beautiful. Love it.
So
I got enough exert tokens because I bought the beta 2-player starter kits. So I probably got like 100 actual crystal exert tokens. So,
So I want to touch point on a few topics here. So as for the video game space, actually, one of the best conventions, one of the conventions that we do the most amount of sales in are video game conventions.
Really?
Where we go there and we tell them, hey, do you play League of Legends? Take League of Legends. And know the moment when your heroes collide, imagine that, but in a card game. And they're like, whoa, yeah.
Sold.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we do really well in video game conventions. And then as for the time frame, actually, a funny thing is I played a 6-player free-for-all game, and it lasted about 12 minutes. It was
cool.
hectic because since you are still on the 5x6 grid, so everyone's hitting everyone. You go to play one big move, and everyone's reacting and jumping on you. It's like Smash Brothers. It's crazy.
Oh man, that's awesome. So, are there different game modes, or you just add players and it adds this like element of gameplay?
So, because the rules go. The back and forth rules of it is my team takes one turn, your team takes one turn, my team takes one turn. You can easily do 2v2 where it's you and your ally as a team. So one of you takes a turn, then one of your opponents and one of you. So we've done 2v2. We've done free-for-alls up to 6 players. We've done draft and sealed, and we've done one idea, which is called terrains, where you extend the board by X amount of squares. So you can either do another row or another column. But for each square you add one piece of terrain. So we use Warhammer terrain, like someone's trees or whatever, put them in. And these are now considered to be like occupied spots. You can't move there, you can't do anything. So you create a bit of a map. And the way we determine where the terrain pieces go is to say we're playing a 3-player free-for-all. Each person gets 2 pieces of terrain, and we go around the circle putting down terrain. So it becomes a little bit randomized. So we've done a lot of creative formats, but at the end of the day, because we do plan on hosting bigger championships and other type of formats or other type of tournaments, we want to put a focus on the constructed play, because that's the one that's tournament focused. But on the other hand, casual play, that's where I'm at. I love the casual play.
I was just thinking, like, as a kitchen table person, obviously, like, I'm actually at a kitchen table today, so it's kind of on brand. But as a kitchen table person, you could have, like, me and my buddies would love to do something like you have custom designed, like, arenas where you have different obstacles, and, like, we play that one, and then we'll move on to another arena, and you can use the arena to strategize. Like, I think that's really cool. Like, I think there's so much space there with the like the actual arena thing.
I also at one point created a 1-player dungeon crawler using the cards. So you placed out.
Now you've really got him, Assad. Like, now you've really got him.
Player versus environment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Give it to me, Assad. Give it to me.
So you put down 4 treasure cards. One of them is a pillar. So we have the air pillar, water pillar, fire pillar, earth pillar. So you put one of them down as a pillar and 2 of them that are reward cards. So extra aura or extra life, whatever. And then on top of them, you put down face down creatures. And you come into the arena with a limited hand size. You go and engage with an encounter. The creature flips over. You got to kill that creature right away. And it'll attack you back based on rule state. Once you kill it, you get the reward underneath. And you are trying to hunt down the pillar and destroy it. The catch is there's a time limit. When you start the thing, you roll a dice to figure out how many rounds you have to go find the pillar and destroy it. Once you destroy it, you go to the second round where there's 6 creatures instead of 4, and then 10 creatures, and then 12 creatures. And each time you're rolling to see how many turns you can do this. The thing is, as you go from dungeon to dungeon, your health doesn't go back to normal. So you're now carrying over your resource state as well. So you're limited in resource state. And I was working on rules to scale this up for multiplayer. This was our thing of like, how do we help people deal with the boredom of COVID? So we're going to create this so people could just play at home with the cards have. And
that's
the
so smart, though.
Yeah, the cool thing you could do is like, open up a booster pack and use those as reward cards, but not know what's in there yet. Put those face down, and these could be reward cards that you could, like, just say underneath the creature is something like a left hook. Well, now you defeated that creature. That left hook now goes into your hand, and you have a new attack.
That's so cool.
That's so cool.
I, after was doing my gameplay videos, I was live streaming them as I was designing that concept. I was live streaming my design process. And so there's a couple of videos out there of me doing this.
That's awesome.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
I like that because for me, it's like I always like to play games. You know, you get into like board game, like as a board gamer, like you get into this world where like it's hard to get a board game group together consistently every week. And then the weeks that you miss your board game group, you end up being like, how do I engage with this hobby? And so then you buy more board games. And then, you know, you keep going through this cycle of like every time you're not, you know, and so that gives you an opportunity to like engage with the hobby if not everybody can show up, or, you know, COVID or whatever. Scythe, a game by Stonemaier Games, this is my favorite board game, has an automa system that allows you to play the game by itself, and it's awesome. It's so cool.
Another theory that I've been having is we have one of our arenas. This is an old a version that isn't available anymore, but it was the map of J. Lara. So I was thinking, imagine you and your friend sitting down and you have little miniatures of your character and you're going along the map like in Final Fantasy or other RPGs. And then once you have an encounter, you pull out the arena map and you deal with the encounter like a normal Genesis game. And then you defeat them, you get gold, and then you go back into the world map and you start traversing. So I was like, it could be like that whole JRPG type of video games using
that's
CCG.
So cool.
and then level up, get better cards. I have ideas.
That's awesome. George, you got some questions about from the gameplay side of people who were playing at your store?
So then, I think on our first call, I messaged this to you. Good words. I talked to you about this. I'm great at English language. Is we are a draft heavy store, and the draft is a little bit wonky right now. I would say. Do you think that's fair?
I do believe it's not as clean as it is in other games. I'll give you that.
So I guess the question I would have is there going to be a set that's going to be more draft ready, do you think? Or do you not see that as a necessary for this game?
So I do drafts. I do them regularly. I was watching a draft on Sunday. Was it Sunday? No, it was Friday, the release day. I was watching people do.
Can you go over how to draft for everybody? They probably don't know. I just thought of that. See that, Louis? I'm learning from you. I'm learning how to be a content creator from both you and Jordan. So, Assad, can you tell us about how you would draft this game?
Oh, yes, I will. The draft process, because I believe that even if you're playing with a smaller deck size, you still should consider chi, because it is a very essential part of the deck designing process. So we say 35 cards, 175 chi points for your deck. You do 4 packs, left, right, whatever order you want to do it in. And then the big thing that people tend to make a mistake on when they're drafting is not thinking about which affiliations they're drafting, and not thinking about drafting the lower chi cards.
Can you tell us what chi is? Because I know, but they don't. Let me try to explain, because I think I can. It's basically your way of powering the deck to a standard, right? Where it's like each card has, so you can have 35 cards, and every card has a specific power, and you can only have, I think you said 175 power, basically chi, that's in your deck. Sorry, I just wanted to intersect there so that people didn't get lost.
So the scale for chi goes from 3 to 8. And this will actually appeal a little bit to those Warhammer players, because this was stolen from miniature games, where you say, okay, we're going to play a match of 500-point armies, and that's how they balance the game. They say, we're both coming in with 500-point armies according to these guidelines, and then you come in and you battle. So in Genesis, it's the same idea. This way, you could have the best cards in your deck, but every time you want to run some of those powerhouse staple cards, you have to put in some of the worst cards into your deck. And if you're running them 1-to-1, then your odds of drawing one over the other is 50-50, right? You put in 8s, because there's no 2s, you have to put in 2 bad cards to balance out an 8. So your odds of drawing a good card versus a bad card is now skewed towards the bad cards. That's chi, that's the concept and the design principles behind it. And then, so when drafting, because every color combination exists by the champion. So the champions bound you on what colors you can play with. I say colors just to make it simple for everyone who doesn't know the game.
Right.
But they're called affiliations, but let's not get into that. So you're bounded by particular colors that you can play with. And so if you are aware which color combinations exist, you draft in those color combinations, and you get some of the lower chi cards, the 3s and the 4s. You have to start getting those in the middle of drafting the pack, not the end, because near the end, what you're going to start getting are the 5s, 6s, and 7s that no one wants to play with. So that's going to skew your pool of cards towards the higher end, and you don't have enough low end cards to bounce them out. But we do have one because drafting, I always believe drafting should be a casual format. I don't like putting hard rules in all the time, because I want the community to figure out what's right for them. So one community say, okay, if for some reason you're brand new to drafting and you draft poorly and you don't have enough cards to make a deck at 175 points, then use left hook, which is the most basic card in the game. Every champion can run it. It's at 3 chi, so it balances out your deck easily. You can use as many left hooks as you want, kind of like when you're drafting in Magic. And then another rule that people say is that when you draft your deck and you pick your champion who you want to play with, if after 1 or 2 games you realize you don't like that champion anymore, you can swap them out and play with a different champion. So There's some more casual rules to make it easier for new players. But when me and my friends draft, I don't do that. If you're not good at drafting, you got to get better.
Yeah, and at a higher level.
I think that is like the biggest benefit that we saw in my store was that it's a harder game to draft. Mm-hmm. It is not, now keep in mind, they've only gone through, I think, 4 boxes at this point. I don't even have my J2 yet. Like don't even make me do the math on how much money that is now. And it is, we draft 5 times a week, different games.
Nice.
5 or 6 now. I think 6 now. And like yours is a very, it takes practice. You are not, your first draft of this is going to hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Was that intentional, or was that just like, hey, this is the way the game is, and like deal with it, suckers?
So it is intentional, and let me
really. I like that. That's spicy. I like that
behind this. So obviously,
I like that.
I got obsessed with the interview you and Jordan did about Metazoo. Like I watched that one interview maybe 5 or 6 times. It was so good.
Thank you.
Awesome. But you talked about how Metazoo has this amazingness of appealing to such a large audience.
Right.
I come from a gamer's background. I've always looked for the harder challenge. I want Genesis to be that next step up in difficulty for TCGs. I don't want to make it a simple game. So when people come up to me and like the rules are complex or the gameplay's hard or it's hard to know how to manage being a summoner or a fighter, I'm like, then you need to practice. You need to get better at the game because this is not a game for you to come in and if you're not winning as a new player, then to drop it. Now there is better luck. I've seen a lot of new players come in, especially people who have the chess background or a Warhammer background, come in and do really well on their first game. But it's a game of practice like chess, like Warhammer. You can't be an amazing chess player your very first time you sit down at the table. So I want Genesis to be a game that is that.
So
next
Louis
step
might
up.
never understand it, is what you're trying to tell us. Is that right, Assad?
I was just trying to figure out how to hook this back into like a playability where I can actually pick it up.
Louis might never get this. I'm so sorry, Louis. This has been a really great interview. That was Assad. Louis has to leave now.
I'm out, guys. We'll talk to you guys later.
So that's where the casual formats come in. Let's separate like competitive from casual, because in the casual formats, when you're playing multiplayer free for all, you can make mistakes because then other people recover you. The game plays really
like that
enjoyably in the multiplayer sense.
Louis in now. So I will say that matches up with what I saw in my store. Just for those of you watching, again, the 2 players that ate it up were Fab and Warhammer. And those are probably the 2 more challenging CCGs in the market today in terms of complexity and gameplay, I would argue. The Magic players, I think they enjoyed it, but not nearly to the extent of the first 2 groups, I would say. I think that you kind of hit your market on this, that it is a CCG game for CCG players.
Jordan, are you good at trading card games?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm okay.
You're the only Jordan on the
I'm
call.
Okay.
Better than you, Louis.
So
I've never played against you, so I don't know where I rank. I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, let me put it this way. Flesh and Blood, I've gotten a lot better at. I was never a competitive player, but Flesh and Blood, I've gotten a lot better at. Magic, I was always really good at. I mean, I could go into a draft or a sealed event, and I'd just run like black and red and always win like the top 4. It wasn't that difficult. But I've been playing for 25 years, so I was going into a store, with a lot more knowledge than a lot of people. But one thing to mention too, Sid, like when we had our conversation, I had said to you, I remember I asked you on Discord a few things, and two of them you responded with great answers. And one of them was, I said, hey, is there a way to is there some sort of deck builder? Like Flesh and Blood has fabdb.net. And you're like, well, that's all done by someone on their own. That's not something that's done by the company. We don't have anything like that now, but if you go to Tabletop Simulator, you can figure out your chi and all that. And you were like, but if people can't do the basic math of figuring out their chi, they probably have a bigger problem. And then I remember you also said trying to build a deck.
Made me sound so mean.
Well, not mean, but you're being honest.
Canada.
Now.
He's very nice. Let me assure everybody, Assad is from Canada. He's very nice. He loves Putin.
He's very nice. But as far as physical cards go,
if you can't do basic math to 175, then you need to find a different card.
You got some problems. Now, so as far as the physical cards go versus Tabletop Simulator, though, I remember I said to you, the way I am personally, 25 years of playing Magic, I didn't do this with Flesh and Blood, which I dumped Magic for. I did this with Genesis. I got all my cards out, and Assad, I think I even sent you pictures. I had all my cards out on the table. I sorted them all, and I was reading each affiliation and reading each card and reading them for the tactical aspect versus when I would build a deck in Flesh and Blood, I'd go on FabDB and I'd be like, what cards can this person use? Click, 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 and click all the cards into a list and then cut that list down based on what I was reading on the website. And it was completely different. And it made me feel like old school Magic again, because I'm sitting at my kitchen table literally with my kid and going, this card looks sweet, but it's not as good as this card, but they have the same chi. And my son's like, yeah, use that one. That one looks cooler. And I'm like, let's try it. Sure. So like, it's fun to do that. It reminded me of like building a deck the old fashioned way versus having to rely on, an app or some sort of other website.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's beautiful about this. Go ahead, Asad.
Sorry. I was going to say, I think one of the things I really appreciate about it is the exploration into new cards. I know, so for example, Alex Miller, who's our lead game designer, as I took more of a CEO role, I needed someone to take over more of the game design role. So I brought someone in to focus on the game design side. He got second place in the championship. He's a very, very strong player. And there's a lot of cards that he say, why did you design this card? It's absolute garbage. I'm like, okay, let me show you. And I have him a different way of playing those cards. And now he turns around and uses those cards better than I ever could. And I'm like, yeah, if you come in with preconceived notions on these cards, they're not going to do very well. But you got to try them, practice with them, and see what you can do with them. Cards have so much more depth complexity than it shows in the game. I'm happy that you sat at the kitchen table to do it. I love how on brand this is, right? Like he's the kitchen.
Asad, did I hear you just say that you hired the second place person in the tournament?
Yeah. So
could you not afford the first place guy? I mean, was he just a little too priced?
Okay. My favorite line. There's a show Bones. There's a show Bones where at one point the main character is getting her interns to do something, and when the interns comes up and is like, "Yeah, I'm the third best person in the school," and the main character's like, "All right, give me the name of the next two people above you."
Other than you.
I'm just giving the
So the person got first place, Steve-O, he's such a hardcore fan and he wants to keep that perspective. He's like, I want to be on the outside. I don't want the inside details at all. I just want to play this game for what it is.
Yeah,
don't give me spoilers. Yeah. Don't tell me anything. I want to just be a player of the game. I'm like, awesome. But the person who got second place, Alex, even before the championship, he was the first person to be like, you know what? I love this game so much. I'm making my own set. And he just sat there, designed his own set for the game. And it showed up 2 months later. And I'm like, yep, that's someone who's dedicated. And he ran our Future League community, which is, I got to talk about Future League. The Future League itself, the concept is sandbox testing. It's anyone who's interested. It doesn't matter if you just started playing today or you've been playing for months. You're welcome into the community and you start play testing our future concepts and giving us reports on that.
That's cool.
So he's the one who led that community for a long time. He did, other community building things, and he showed that at the end of the day, he wants this game to succeed. He wants a game to do really well in there. And when I was looking for someone to help lead the game design space, it was like, you're perfect. You do it. So. Yeah.
Asad, you seem the design, the way that the companies ran, the organization of everything seems very grassroots, and it seems like that's very intentional. Speak to me a little bit about why you choose that direction. I personally love it.
Why do you choose to bootstrap it? Why have you thought about getting $1 billion in funding, Asad? I'm just wondering.
I think there's more to than that. Oh, whatever.
Because if you had that kind of money, okay, so it comes down to your personality and your business acumen. If you have that kind of money at the very, very early stages, you're more likely to waste it. When you're just starting a company, I know personally, I did get a loan at the very beginning when starting this company because we needed to find a way to put food on the table. but I did not spend that money as wisely as I do now. And I'm really happy we didn't take capital at the beginning. The reason why I bootstrapped it, before starting this company, I was a software QA for 2 companies. One, a startup, a healthcare startup called Think Research. And healthcare quality assurance, very, very different than a CCG quality assurance. In our space, the worst we can do is create a card that breaks and then it needs to get banned. In the healthcare space, you have a bug in your software and someone dies. And that's a lot of weight on your shoulder as a tester. So I had to become really good really quickly. And I was the only QA at the company. I didn't have someone training me. So I studied really hard and became better. And then I took a break from that company. Like I left that company and came back. But in between, I worked for a company called The Working Group. And there, even though I just worked for The Working Group, they're a company that builds software for a bunch of different clients. So in that one span of working there for a bit over a year, I worked with maybe 40 different entrepreneurs and 40 different startups. Actually, not all startups, some of them really, really big companies. And I got to learn what it's like to bootstrap and the strengths of that and how much more deep you can make the roots when you take your time, take it one step at a time, and grow according to your capacity. Because once you start growing too fast, and that's, I know our print runs are small, but we still feel like we're growing too fast right now. When we start growing too fast, then you get to a point where you're like, all right, you're having to make decisions that you don't have the time to plan them out. And that's where things can start falling apart. You can start making a lot more mistakes. I like to take my time. I like to do things right the first time around. And if I can't and I make a mistake, I'd like to fail in front of as few people as possible.
So that's great. That was a really good answer and really good insight into your company and the way that it works. And I'm really glad that I asked the question, even though George made fun of me.
Well, and Assad's so honest about it too, because like even when we were having Discord chats on the side, like when I told you guys I was sitting at the kitchen table doing stuff, I'm looking at some of the decks that Assad has online, and I was going through the cards, and I remember asking like, what would be a good replacement for this card? And because I didn't have enough of whatever card it was, but like I had enough giant scorpions, and I was able to like throw those in place of other cards, and I was like, hey, this will actually work. So in that process of going through all my cards, I found some cards that were miscut. I found some cards that needed to be errated. They had misprints on them. And I remember sending Sid like text after text, and he's like, oh God, not another one. You found, oh my gosh, now. And then the other day he sent something on Discord, and he's like, I found another one, look. And he was like all excited. But he literally told me that day, make a video about this, please, showing people that we're not perfect. There were miscuts. You're going to open some J2. You're going to get miscuts. You're going to get misprints. And that didn't really bother people. Like a lot of people like that stuff. So they were excited because they're like, oh, I'm going to open miscut cards.
It's very funny you say that. When I'm Assad, you don't have to confirm this. I assume that I'm probably the largest order that's been placed for J2.
Yeah.
Compete sport number 1. And before I finalized it, you were like, whatever you do not send money yet. You need to go watch Jordan's video and make sure that you're okay with the miscuts.
That's fantastic.
I don't want you to pay and then be upset.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I'm putting a product out there. I don't want people to come in here with some expectation that we're perfect and that we have no issues in game design or in our manufacturing process or anything like that. We're human. We make mistakes. But I would do that. You're a very large client, and I appreciate your support. But I would do that even if a store comes up to me and it's like, "Hey, I'm just buying 2 boxes of J," and I'm like, "Make sure you're aware of this," because
if you're gonna do it for your larger client, you're gonna do it for your smaller client. You're like
he does it for individuals. He gave me a free box and a playmat to open, and he messages me and says, hey, if you want those cards replaced, we'll replace them. I'm like, dude, you gave this stuff to me for free. I would feel terrible going like, let me send you this stuff back and send me new free stuff now.
You heard it.
Yeah,
you heard it. It was very endearing, and like it also like it showed sometimes so you released your print runs, and I want you to show it revealed how skeptical the entire CCG market is. A whole bunch of people messaged me saying, "You see, he's artificially withholding print runs. These are artificially small to boost up the price." And I was like, "Have you ever talked to him?" Like, I said two things. I said, first, I suspect this is what he could afford. Yep. Like, he's bootstrapping it. If he could afford 10,000 boxes, the print run would have been 10,000 boxes, is my gut. And I said, also, like, this dude flat out was like, I'm very worried the prices are so high when the cards were $10. And that was my first conversation with you. And, like, you know, our good friend Mick, he was like, I want to do a single store. I'm like, so you can sell 50-cent cards with everybody else? Like, the singles are not meant to be expensive in this game. The game is meant to be financially accessible. And I said, like, if you ever have more than a 30-second conversation with Assad, he will mention this to you.
Yeah. Like, he thumbs down me when I told him I sold my box for 500, my beta box.
Good for you. Good for you, Assad. I gave mine away. All right, I gave mine away. I'm a good person here.
Yeah, you're a good person.
So Assad, what goes, like, I mean, like, this is something that I do think the CCG community is struggling with, is a good deck in any game right now is remarkably expensive. Like, I don't care what the game is. You know, we have kids in my store running commander decks, which are thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah.
Can you go through your reasoning a little bit about saying, I want Genesis to be a financially accessible game? Does it have something to do with the fact that you bootstrapped it, so you know the hunger, if you will?
It's the fact that when I was a kid, my mom gave me a $5 a month allowance and I'm like, okay, every single month I'm buying one booster pack.
Yeah.
And that mattered, right? The thing is, I'm making this game for to have so much depth and complexity that it is the one step above, but it isn't easy to learn, hard to master game. I know a lot of kids. My niece, I think when I started teaching her, she was like 6 or 7. My nephew was about 9 or 10. And they love it. Like, they play it, and they're not playing to become the best. They're just playing it for fun, right? So I want little kids who just want to play a card game, and they're like, this is fun. And I get to move my creatures around and have this cool board state. For players, for everyone, just be able to get into the game. And as for, like, the price of competitive, I think right now with J2, if you buy the starter kit and 2 booster boxes, you will probably get close enough to
what a great bundle
against to play with the top tier meta decks. You'll get enough cards to compete on that space.
And you throw a play mat in there, and you got everything you need to go.
What a great bundle! Yeah. That's a great
Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Like, someone had thought of that.
That was not planned. I want everybody to know that was completely organic. I don't think you know what's in our bundle, do you, Assad?
I do.
Oh,
yeah, we designed it to be like this.
We paid him to pump.
Yeah. Wait. Hold on, George. Before Assad, can you tell me you J2? It's a little bit in my brain. I'm sure it makes sense to you. J2 is a little confusing to me because J2 seems like a new set, but in reality, it's reprints plus a new set. Walk me through what's in this bundle, because I don't want people feeling like they missed out on the first 2 sets and now they can't get the cards, because you solved that because you care about that, and I want people to know that.
So let's talk about print run and accessibility, because this goes into those design decisions. So Alpha came out. You saw for anyone who looked, you saw the numbers. They were very, very few boxes and packs. And again, it's because I was bootstrapping it, and I was taking a loss on all Alpha products. So when I bought all the initial 30 starter kits that I sold, I bought them for $100 a pop and sold them for $70, because I could not charge someone $100 for these. Even though I was paying $100, I couldn't charge someone $100.
They're
so
now
imagine a two-player starter kit that would cost $70 for a CCG. That's absurd to begin with. But we sold those really, really quickly. And then we did the next round where I bought 100 of those starter kits for $75 a pop and sold them for $70 and wholesaled them for $49. So I took a loss on all Alpha product. Not a single Alpha product did I make profit on. So the print runs got smaller and smaller because my capital is running out. Then when I knew we could sell the product, I went in and got a bank loan. And I hope my in-laws don't hear this, but on our wedding day, my in-laws gave us money for a down payment on a condo. When the condo fell apart and we got our money back, I invested that back into the company. So it's basically a wedding gift from my in-laws, from a bank loan, and the remaining money that my mom had set aside before she passed away. She set aside a certain amount of money for our wedding. The remaining of that, all that went into starting the company. And that's why the beta print run is the size it is. It's literally all the money I had. All my savings, everything went into it. So beta was really small, and then we went in. We got some money from that. There was a profit margin.
Amazing.
If that doesn't sell you on the idea of somebody who loves their passion and loves their game, I don't know what would sell you on that. I mean, you can't paint a better picture than that, man.
Yeah. No. So when we got into Welcome to Jailara, the money from selling beta, along with now we started dipping into my wife's savings. And we got into the print run for Welcome to Jailara. Raise, we were able to get another bank loan, and we did Raise. And then when we were doing Jailara second edition, it was like, you know what? We learned from those previous sets. There were some cards in there that were just, they were good at the time, let's say that. But now meta shifted because going from beta to Raise, tempo changed, the player base change. They came up with things that I didn't even think of about how the game should be played, and we leaned into those. So JLR second edition was, okay, now we have distribution. Now we're selling to a larger audience. Let's give them a product that's good. Don't reprint all those cards that no one plays with. Don't reprint those cards at the wrong rarity. Print them at the right rarity in the right quantities, giving them 2 rares per pack so that now hunting down a particular rare is not the most challenging thing in the world. You're gonna get at least one of every single rare in the set from buying just one box. Don't make those things a challenge. Give them a product that gives them everything they need and takes out all the things that I don't want them wasting their time trying to make work.
Yeah.
Right. So it's about refining the game and making it right, and learning from our mistakes. So that's what J2 is about. So for me, if you're gonna buy those older boxes, buy them because they're a memento. Buy them because you want to experience what it was like playing the game at that time. But don't think you're gonna get better cards in those older boxes than you are now. You're getting better cards now and in higher quantities. And playing competitive, playing casual, playing the game is so much more accessible now.
Right.
That's there is one card that's not true for, and that's Vampire's Kiss. So
okay. There's a reason behind that. So some cards didn't make their print into J2, and that's because they were already slotted for the next set.
Gotcha.
So it didn't make sense to put
Spoiler.
them in J2.
I love it.
If they're going to show up in the next set anyways.
So
Vampire Kiss, it showed up in organized play kits because Vampire's Kiss lost favor as the game grew and as tempo increased. It's still one of my favorite cards, but
me too.
It has a place in the game, but not at the quantities that you need to get them in a booster box. You just need like 2 to 4 of them. Get them in your organized play kits once those start rolling out. And the organized play kits, we're hopefully going to roll them out in such a way that you show up to an event, you should be able to get one. Like they're not going to be super hard or only available to the winners. But no promises on that just yet, because it will come down to when we start rolling that out, what we have accessible to us.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, I think you're probably close to that point where you need it now, but it's not. You're not to the size where I think it's devastating if you don't have it. Like, you know, we're still learning the game, right? Most stores are still getting their feet wet. They're still grasping it. You know, they're still trying to get their hands around what do I do in this situation. You know, it's people really liked it at my store. You know, and it's funny. I will go to my grave convinced that Summoner Wars is the greatest board game ever created. I think it is a masterpiece, and this is Summoner Wars on steroids. You know, this is a more complex Summoner Wars. So let me ask you this. Like, I think we all know, like, they have me on here because I'm the moron who talks about finance, which is why you and I get along so well, Assad. And what does it feel like seeing these boxes now sell for enough to pay off the national debt? Is that like a very weird feeling for you? Does it feel good or bad? Like, I know you well enough to know that, like,
Okay.
That's
I don't know the answer to that.
It's I like how you're like, I know you well enough that I don't know what your answer's gonna be.
Like, let me be very clear here. If I talk to Metazoo Mike, I suspect he'd be like, "Oh, I love Kickstarter boxes going to $1 trillion. That warms my soul." I don't know if you'd love that or not.
It comes down to why the person's buying it. So I had this conversation with Steve-O. So again, Steve-O is a very, very special person to me because I don't think I would have been able to start this company without him, because he was the first store to see the game and be like, I want to carry your game because even though I know nothing about you, like, he and I had never met before, but he was already interested in carrying the game. He was our second store to sign up with us. Our first store, Forbes in Cambridge. The owner there knew me from when I was a little kid, but also knew one of our game designers. I was like, he told me very clearly on the first day I sold him product, he's like, I'm only doing this because Carl told me to buy your game. But I'm going to continue supporting you because I like you as a person. But I only was interested because of Carl. And I was like, okay, that's fair. That's honest. But Steve-O didn't know any of that. So Steve-O saw the game and fell in love. He was a Magic player for years, started hosting Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments, but he never found that game that quite fit for him. And then he played Genesis and was like, this is perfect for me. So he got obsessed with the game, started playing it a lot, and started playing with his mom and his daughter, and it was wonderful. And then, so he's been there since Alpha. He's one of the few people who has like Alpha product. He has the only sealed Alpha box outside of like our small little collection, but like out there in the world, he's the only one who has a sealed Alpha box. So he is a really, really hardcore player. He collects everything, and he even got tattoos on his hand of all the different affiliation symbols.
That's funny. Louie and I were going to do that for next week's podcast, actually. That's really interesting you say that. That's what Louie and I were planning to reveal on next week's podcast. That's great. Thank you, Assad, for spoiling that.
So I told him, I was talking to him, and he's like, why are people spending this much on beta? He couldn't get it. He couldn't understand it. And he's like, why are people spending this much on a beta box when realistically you're not getting anything in there that's worth value? Everything that's in there is in J2 in higher quantities, better frame, better everything about it, except for that Guardian Bounce and Samber Dragon that Jordan pointed out. Go watch this video about the miscut and issues. So besides those two cards, all the cards from beta, you can get those in J2. So why would people spend that much? And I turned around and said to him, if you had just found this game today and you just got introduced to it, how much would you spend for a beta box? And he's like, yeah, money wouldn't be a question. And that's the side of it that makes sense to me. If he's so passionately in love with the game that he wants be able to put every single box on his shelf and say, I have this collection. I was able to do this. And that's the only reason why I would want any like early Magic cards. I would like to get a pack of Ice Age because that's when I started playing Magic. Or that's the reason why I have sealed boxes from Overpower, because that's when I started playing Overpower. But if you're getting it to get the good cards, if you're spending that much money to get good cards from beta, don't.
If you're looking to play, it sounds like J2 is your way to go. It sounds like our bundle is the way to go, considering I think most other places are sold out already.
So that was my next question to you. It's like, listen, like you did this print run, and like I suspect you thought this print run was gonna. We talked about this. You thought this print run was gonna last you months.
This is your fault, yo.
I hope you're talking to not me.
So
we have a lot of people our Discord. There's been a good chunk of people asking about it.
I will say also, like Jordan and Ham on Wall Street will not stop talking about how amazing your game is. They would they would not.
Yeah, I'm getting paid millions of dollars from Sid, just so you guys know. I'm like bankrolling shilling.
Where's my money? How am I paying you for this? I don't even have
millions of dollars.
You know how much money I've spent, Assad. I kept sending you like, I bought this box. Literally, here's why I sold my beta box, just so everyone knows. I had bought so much beta and Raze and J. Lara that I literally filled up the only credit card I have, and I opened everything except for a beta box, which paid
This
off
is
the majority
terrible
of credit
financial
cards.
advice.
Yeah, everyone,
I
please
just want
don't.
to make sure everybody
Don't
knows
listen
that.
to me.
You heard two.
I'm not a
people tell
financial
you-
advisor.
You had
And
two people
Steve-O.
told you their financial stories. I am begging you all to not do what they
Not
did.
listen to them.
And
Do
No,
not-
don't.
listen,
Oh, my
don't
goodness.
listen to Steve-O either if he gives you advice, because he opened an alpha pack last night just because he was bored, and I was like, dude, those alpha heroes are cool, and he's like, they're in the mail, I'll send them to you completely for free. The
Steve-O's-
dude's sending the alpha heroes just because
he's a
he's the
gem.
nicest friggin' guy in the world. So
Yeah.
So
It's funny because like when I was talking about like how I invested everything into this company, my wife and I last night were eating was it last night or the day before, we're eating ramen noodles, and I was like, remember when we didn't have enough money to buy name brand ramen noodles? And she was like, yeah. That was a thing.
Yeah.
I had to buy like not
For sure.
I remember buying the Walmart brand Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and have you had that stuff? It is not good. You got to get actual Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Don't buy the Walmart brand.
I'm sure that's the one George buys with his Walmart branded cell phone.
for sure.
everything in my house is labeled great value. I drive a Hyundai, and if it's not a Hyundai, it's labeled great value.
It doesn't
Okay,
mean it
like
has
this
great
is something
taste.
I live and die by.
When you're on the phone with George, it cuts out at least 5 times every hour.
That's true.
And then
Yeah,
You know
it's a
why?
great value cell phone. Great
I've
value
offered-
network coverage.
I've
I buy
offered
myself
to
a
pay,
Works when you
from
get by
Straight Talk.
Walmart.
I've offered to pay for his cell phone because it's so annoying. Asad, let me ask you this: how do you? It seems like you've scaled up slowly. I don't know
You've
if you're,
printed more than 3 boxes, I think.
I don't know if you're willing to disclose the J2 print run or not. I know it's
Here we
question
go.
marked on your website.
The reason why we're not disclosing it is because if we give those numbers, and for some reason, because of the market, those numbers cause inflation on the product, I'll be heartbroken. I don't want that to happen. So we're not going to disclose those numbers until enough time has passed that it makes sense to, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I don't want, like, my nephew, if he wants to buy a pack of Genesis, of course, he'll just come to me and be like, can you just give me one? I'll be like, sure, here you go. But if he went to his local game store and wanted to buy a pack, like, I couldn't imagine him paying anything more than MSRP, right? Like, if the product prices go up, it would just it's such a shame. That's not what we want for the game.
Yeah.
Don't use your computer the next couple months, Assad. Let me warn you right now. Turn it off. Cut off the internet. Don't go on your phone. Leave today, and you'll be fine.
I was gonna say. So we have a Patreon because, as I said, it was self-funded, and Kickstarter and TCGs traditionally, Metazoo being accepted, traditionally have not melded well. And so we need to find another way for to get some funding. So we are Patreon members, like micro investors, and it's a one-on-one communication with me.
Assad, I just want to let
every
you know
single time we get
I'm a patron, but George is not.
It's an awesome.
I am not a patron of anybody.
Jordan and I are both
Patreon.
patrons, but George is not.
I am
That's
too. Yeah.
So every time we get a new Patreon member, I always ask them, "Oh, where'd you hear from us?" And at first, it was like, random stores, small things. And recently, we've had a huge boom to our Patreon subscription, and all the time, it's like George, Jordan, Wall Street. Like, it's the same story over and over again. So if demand and sales are going up, I know who to come after.
Yeah.
I have tried to push people towards your Patreon, Assad, and away from Louis. I just want to make sure you know that.
Whatever, George. We have a great Genesis bundle coming out to the patrons. So like you're such a everything you say is a lie. It's hilarious. Aside, but like what I see from the scaling of the boxes, and again I don't know what the J2 is, but is that it has increased almost exponentially every round. It grows pretty significantly, and so like one of my questions is scaling this. I mean. You now have Jordan doing content. You've got a bunch of we're doing a bundle for my patrons. You're starting to get a growth rate that is growing. How important is it to you to scale up to reach the next? Go from 1,000 to 5,000 to 25,000 to 35,000 to how important is that to you? And do you have any plans for that?
So it is important to grow because to be honest, one thing that's in the back of my mind, especially doing this company for almost 4 years, is that I would like a salary. So scale is important. I would like to be able to help my wife with the financial burdens of,
that's a good goal to have, Todd.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So scale is important. Growth is important, but it's the right type of growth. As we grow and the community starts getting larger, I want the players to connect with one another, build those roots, build those connections, and stay for the long haul. Like, the problem about scaling too quickly is that if you don't have a strategy on how to maintain communication with your entire network, then you're going to have these people on the peripherals that fall off. And you want that peripherals to be as far out as possible. You want your inner network to stay with you for as long as possible. So the one thing I love about our community is when COVID hit, for example, our community reached out to me and was like, I know you're struggling because we're bootstrapping it's all of our life savings. They're like, how do we support you through COVID? And that's why we got the larger Patreon tiers, because that was their suggestion. That was the community saying, we want to support you more, create larger Patreon tiers so we can support you.
Because they love the game enough to support you so that you can continue to create the game. That's amazing.
And I think they see his vision too.
Yeah, there's network. There's like, we talk about depth and breadth, and depth is so important. Like, for the players to love the game so much that it's something that they want to see succeed and grow. That's so critical. So if there are a lot of players out there who haven't had the opportunity to sit down and talk with me, we have a round table the first Monday of every single month where I open up a Zoom call. Everyone's able to come in and just ask me questions. Like, you should
not let George in that.
I'll be there. I'll be there on Monday. That's today. I'll be there today. I will not be there today.
The first Monday of every month. So we start the first Monday of September.
That's why I was telling not to let George in there, because he won't listen to anything that you're saying. He'll just talk.
But it's good for the community to be connected with us, because and I know as we grow, it's not going to be impossible for them to always be connected with me, but they should be connected with Haunted Castle Gaming, and not just random people, but the actual like heads of departments, because it's going to give them more depth into the game. It's going to give them more love for it and appreciation for it.
I will say the people that have liked your game have loved your game. Like, I mean this, like Jordan and him, and like I'd say there's probably like 9 or 10 people in my store have really gotten into it. Nice. They will not stop talking to me about it. They are like, hey, what about this? What about that? And it's like, it is a passion-driven game. And I forget who said it, but like, it perfectly encapsulated what I think about the game. They said, when you talk to Assad about the game, you can see the delicate care and passion he puts into every card. And I thought that was like a remarkably nice and smart way to phrase it. It's like there was care put into every set.
Yeah.
Can I bookend that thought real quick with, I want to, for everyone that's watching right now too, I want them to know I'd heard of Genesis before, but I wasn't the person that, really was pushing the game for how good it was. It was Ben from Ben Trading Cards. Credit where credit is due, because I heard about the game like formally from him. So if there's any pusher in the United States, I'm that pusher. If there's any pusher in Canada, it's Ben. You can blame him.
Oh my goodness. Ben is the most adorable person.
He is. He's awesome. If you're not following him, you should go subscribe to him. He is great. Ben is awesome, and he's the one that really hooked me on Genesis. So I want to give credit where credit's due.
So yeah, awesome. So Assad, I think based on what you just said, you want to scale, but you don't want to scale to the investor. You want to scale towards long-term growth of playability and players and people falling in love with your game, people falling in love with the action of it. And I hope we capture that in our bundle. What we're doing is pretty cool. What we're doing is the promo card that you gave George and I, which is going to be a character. What character is it?
So we're still trying to figure out which one. It's going to be either Long or Malik. Okay. It's just whoever captures that concept a bit better.
Yeah.
it's gonna be them. Yeah.
So it's gonna be them with a backwards hat and a Hawaiian T-shirt, and it's gonna be cool.
Awesome.
That's gonna be awesome. And in order to get that card, because I do think like there'll be people who just give this a try because it's it's George and I, and I hope that's true. That's the goal of it. And in order to get that card, they have to send us a picture of them playing at least the 2-player starter kit at their table, because we really want to help encourage people to give the game a go. We're calling the bundle the give Genesis a go bundle. Now let me ask you this aside. You did mention Tabletop Simulator as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do they access that if they want to give the game a go? Today, right now, if they want to hop on, and like, how do they get access to Tabletop Simulator?
So it is a complete fan-driven initiative that we support and we advocate for, but it's not something that internally we did a lot for. So I'm going to give a huge shout out to Steven, who ran that. If you join the fan Discord server, so under Genesis Battle Champions, there's a beginner's guide. If you scroll down to the bottom of that, there's a link to the fan Discord server. And then there's a person in there named Zalakor, and he's going to guide you through everything. He's the best. He's such a wonderful guy, and he will get you connected with all the tables that you need. And then every Sunday night, Stephen Penn, I don't know his Discord handle because he joined the Discord much later after I left the fan server. So he and Will K and Steven, and I think Alex Miller, who's still semi-part of the fan stuff, the four of them run Sunday night demos. So you can go in there and you can learn how to play, they'll answer any questions and just walk you through everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. So anybody who does hop on the bundle will get you can do Tabletop Simulator and learn the game that way if you don't have somebody local to play with, or if your wife. My wife wouldn't play a game with me; she'd say no. So
Can I talk about a little bit why we're doing this, Louis? Is that okay?
Absolutely, you can do whatever you want.
It takes a lot for me to work with Louis, and this was worth it. So I had the policy when I was very, 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 very early to Flesh and Blood. And I had the policy with people I would send boxes out of state to that you can reorder from me twice, and then you got to take it to your LGS and show them. Because that is how the game will not grow if you buy boxes through George alone. It will not work. It won't work. I'm awesome, but I'm not that awesome. And that really, I think, worked. A lot of people said, hey, I want you to know I'm not going to get this next set from you. My LGS finally picked it up. And that is what we want to have happen with Genesis.
Yeah.
If you're locked down again, I'm sorry, that sucks, first of all. But also, if your LGS is open, awesome, and safe, go play this game at your LGS. Show your LGS owner. That will not offend Louis nor I. We want more people to see cool games.
Yep.
And we think this game is really cool. And so we want you to go play it at your LGS, show your LGS owner, and say, listen, I'm going to come in here once a week. I'm going to play. If you know anybody who wants to come try it out, bring them on in.
Yeah.
And that is the goal of the bundle. I know that, there is no doubt in my mind some people are going to buy the bundle, not open a thing, and that's fine. Good luck. God bless. If that's the majority, if that's even a third, we have failed.
Yeah.
The goal of this is to get people to try the game, play the game, love the game.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm actually working with. I've been in a lot of talks with Joey from Decks and Drafts.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
And he did a really cool thing for Flesh and Blood, which was helping people learn how to talk to their LGS and grow it.
Joey is the greatest.
You know what? I'm gonna go in as a consultant into Haunted Castle Gaming. Teach us how to do something like that, because
I love it.
What he's doing is just so amazing. And I told my team, he's not gonna do that for us. He's doing that for Flesh and Blood, and he's doing an amazing job. And I say this over and over again, but I want people playing Genesis, but I know that Genesis isn't gonna appease the entire market. If you find your game that you love and you're passionate about, go play that game. I just want people playing at their LGSs, their favorite CCGs again. But I'm going to be leveraging some of his learnings and figuring out what can we as a company
You literally could not find anybody better than him to lean on. I mean, he did an interview with me a couple of weeks ago, probably a year ago now. And he was like, what would it take for you to take a game? He interviewed a bunch of owners. His insight is invaluable. He is the best. He is the absolute best.
He is very smart, and he picks up on things super quick. I mean, I just sent him some Genesis to look at. You know, I sent him some spare, all the beta 2-player kits I opened. I had all these sealed, you know, little little packages of them, and I sent them off to a bunch of people, and he was one of the people, and he goes, damn it, now I got to take a look at this game too. And like, not as a bad thing, but as like, oh, there's so many TCGs to look at. And he really, once he opened it and asked me a few questions, he was like, oh man, this looks really cool. And I'm like, yeah, dude, take a good look at it for sure.
Yeah.
And it was great because he looked through the beta starter kit, he played, and he started calling us out all these things that he didn't like about it. I'm like, that's such a good video. Like, our beta starter kit, we're in beta. Like, it's not supposed to be perfect.
People tell me the card quality in beta, oh my God, such garbage. I hope J2 is better. And I'm like, J2 is like the newest thing, and you're talking about like the oldest thing that's still on the market, you know, other than Alpha. And cards were cut from the back. The paper quality was different, but they're still really cool. And just like first edition Magic cards, I played since Alpha and Beta. Those cards were garbage. Like, it's just, it's a different paper quality. It's a different printing process. All those things can affect that. But that's not a reason to not try out the game. Like,
just to pivot a little bit. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. I was also going to say we are doing global shipping too, so all over the world.
I did not know that.
Awesome.
That's okay, right? It's not.
I got emailed by someone from China recently. It's like, we're a hobby shop in China, and we're interested in carrying your game. And I'm like, okay, let's
buy the Louis bundle. That's easy. Buy 20 of the Louis bundle.
Yeah, so we're I ship globally, and we'll get it to as many different countries and states and universes as possible. We'll throw it on the rocket ship that Elon Musk is sending up soon.
So
you want to talk about the bundle, Louis?
Oh, well, Assad wanted to pivot. Let's let him pivot, and then
pivot away, Louis.
I'm gonna say, you mentioned something about investors and how, like, so I liked, actually, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit of what George said, but at one point in one of his talks, talking about how investors come and go, but it's the players that are the lifeblood of these games. And that's what I was trying to talk about when it came to and concepts like that. The players are essential because they're the ones who, it doesn't matter if the price of the product ebbs and flows. They're going to be there for the long haul to just play the game and love the game. So it's the players that I think first and foremost that I want to cater towards, because you and me talk about this. Play the game. I want people to play the game. Right. So I think if you're a player and you love this game, reach out to me, because I love to talk to people and hear stories of playing Genesis. So I'll make that open. I mean, my email address is everywhere. Asset@hauntedcastlegaming.com. Feel free to email me anytime.
Like, listen, I deal with, I think it's no surprise, I deal with a lot of investors and as part of my business. And like, listen, like, I love them. They're good friends of mine. But like, they're in it for the buck, right? Like, if they think that some new CCG is going to get you better returns, they're out. And like, that's not a very safe way to grow the game.
Yeah.
Players playing is remarkably safe, right? If people are buying boxes because they're playing the game, you have a growth pattern that's a lot more sustainable. Yeah.
And like, why is the old Magic and the old Pokemon stuff worth so much? It's because the games were so good and they lasted for years.
Right.
A lot of the value in those older products is because of nostalgia and because of scarcity and because of how awesome the game is. And if our product increases in value because of that, then that's awesome. That's what I want to see. But if it's increasing because of some inflated reason, I'm less excited about that.
We're about that. We're all about that. I think we're all on the same page, and healthy growth. And then for stores and individuals, I mean, it's good to have people who are consistently wanting the product too. And it doesn't make sense for a store to just sell to investors, because then they're not creating regular clients, and they're just there for the attendees. And like, as individuals, I know George and I have talked about, we're trying to offer these bundles of games that we believe in. Like we're trying to do Metazoo we had a really successful Metazoo bundle, or I did, and George and I are going to start hopefully working together on some other Metazoo bundles.
Nice.
If he,
Something for Nightfall, maybe.
hopefully,
Ooh,
that's
maybe.
the goal.
My kid
And,
wants that
you know,
so bad.
Spoiler.
we're trying to find games that we believe in and that we think have the playability, because I think as individuals you want the consistent player base that are playing. So
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about our bundle, Louis. Let's get you got to pump, baby. This is
right.
what I'm here for. You got to pump, baby. This is what I'm here for.
Pump the bundle for the people who are still here. An hour and 18 minutes left.
Yeah, we should cut this out. This has to be first. So
we'll cut this out for the first.
Yeah, we got to pump first. So listen, our amazing bundle, our amazing, incredible bundle, the best bundle ever created for Genesis, I would argue. Maybe the only bundle ever created for Genesis, now that I think about it.
The best. No, it's the best.
It's the best, and the worst.
The best is better.
So it is one starter kit.
Yep. 1 2-player starter kit. 2
booster boxes. And 1/2 awesome playmat, 1/2 mediocre playmat.
A Compete Sports versus Kitchen Table TCG arena playmat.
I'll leave it up to you to decide which half is which.
High quality neoprene.
This is a bundle between the People's Champion Louis and the greatest card store ever, Compete Sport. And we are. Do you want to do pricing now, Louis? Do you want to do this as the big reveal for your pricing?
Sure, you go for it, man.
It is going to be $260 for all of that. But wait, there's more. Ron Popeil. If you are fleeced by Louis as a patron, you can get $20 off. Or if you're active in Wall Street, my people, you can get the same $20 off.
There you go.
And we're, listen, the good part is if you're a Louis patron, this means that basically the next 4 months are free for you. It's true. That's great. The playmat's cool. I've seen it. Obviously, the playmats look real good, and you're gonna get. Oh, you also get a promo with every kit.
Yeah, you
get the normal promo with every kit.
Yeah, you get 2 promos. You get 2 of the full art hero promos.
Is that true?
That's true.
Assad, is that true?
Yeah. So I'm sending the alt art Baroque promos. Those are your
Right.
box toppers.
Yeah.
And then the champion promos, I'll be sending those out to you later once the artwork's done.
But you only get that one if you send us a picture of you playing it. And we're going to ask you to post it on the Instas, as the kids call it, and tag both Kitchen Table TCG and Genesis on it.
Yeah. And there will be a guide on how to do all that in the order when you buy.
And if you're old and don't have the
promo.
Instas, don't worry. We'll find another way for you to get your promo.
You'll just
I
send
don't
it
have
in.
the Instas.
It's all there. It's all explained on how to do it. So it'll be $260. You get $20 off if you're.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. And it ships worldwide. It'll be good. It'll go out. So I think we get the product in this week, and then we'll put the bundles together and hopefully get them out early next week or the middle, late next week.
I think they're aiming for Friday for delivery for both of us, and I think my gut is it'll be Friday or Monday for delivery.
Yeah,
so they come on a pallet.
And then I think also if you want to try out the game on Tabletop Simulator, get connected in the ways that Assad said earlier, and start testing it out and playing it and enjoying it. So I'm excited.
You guys have
Assad,
pictures of this mat to show people?
I do. Yeah, I'll overlay it right now.
Wow.
Awesome.
Look at this mat. It's amazing. Wow. Isn't it incredible, you guys?
That's so cool.
Wow.
And
I had no idea
bundle.
this detail right here.
Yeah, that
Holy
George side's the
smoke,
best.
that looks
That's
amazing.
incredible.
And here's
Louis.
Here's the box topper.
Oh my God.
Whoa. Look at the box topper go.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
it's moving across the screen.
And here's a sketch of the promo card.
Do we have that yet? Oh my God. Look at that Hawaiian shirt.
No, it's just a sketch. It's black and white. Anyway, Assad, thank you so much for being here with us and for talking us through Genesis. And just want to say again, I think the game has some really cool, interesting dynamics. I can't wait to explore it. I'm gonna. I think we talked about maybe trying to get on Tabletop Simulator, and you teach me how to play the game and stuff like that. We can work that out later.
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't have a setup right now because my basement, but super excited about it. Super honored to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And
my customers loved it, man. My customers were hyped for it. I'll be honest. Like they ate, it's funny. The only thing that was close was actually alpha. Like the kids ate it up and were immediately like, I need more. Like, can you get and they wanted a bunch of boxes. They wanted to play it. People really loved it. I think you have a really cool, unique game on your hands.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm happy that it's being played. People are enjoying it, and I'm really, really excited to see what the future of the game has.
So if you buy it in store, I cut off the shrink wrap.
Boom.
You do not get. You are not going to. If that is a policy I have in store for all hot boxes.
Nice.
Like, I have the same policy for this as I do for Tales, as I did for Monarch. If you're buying it in store, I will charge you MSRP or MAP depending on the game. But I'm taking your Saran wrap belongs to me. And so, I will tell you that, everything that gets opened in my store gets played in my store.
Love it.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, that's all we got for this little interview. Everyone,
may the Bone Zone be with you.
Oh gosh!
There we go.
Remember the kind of people around you. Go subscribe to the Scheming Skeleton. What is it?
Yes, sir.
Leave me hanging.
Scheming Skeleton, formerly Flesh and Bones. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Go to Assad, what's the website? GenesisBOI.com.
GenesisBOC.com.
BOC, Louis.
Sorry.
Battle of Champions.
And
not Battle of Individuals.
And we will see you. There's going to be a link in the description for all the stuff. If you're not a patron and you want access to the bundle, you pay more. But hope you guys have a great day. Remember to be kind to the people around you, and we'll see you again later.
Take care.